Humans. They are a unique species compared to others in the galaxy, holding just as many innate qualities that are worth praising as damning. They are eager to learn. They are quick to action. They strive for success in all endeavors, regardless of difficulty. However, it is the human's uncanny ability to forge bonds with other sentient beings that is their greatest strength. Whether formed out of respect or love, the bonds created by humans have so often played a pivotal role in the shaping of galactic events. Yet, it is by those very same emotions which gives these bonds strength, also give it shatter points. While the Force encompasses all living beings, even those as wise and powerful as the Jedi and Sith cannot fully comprehend the true meaning of its will. Those who cannot discern the truths of the Force are clouded by a sheet of gray uncertainty, where what you think is a hungry predator is merely the gnarled branches of a tree, and whom you believe to be an ally is really an enemy ready to destroy all that you are. This is the story of betrayal. This is the story of the Showdown on Coruscant. Disclaimer: the following is a fan reading of several excerpts from the Revenge of the Sith novelization. All credit for this brilliant story goes to Matthew Stover. Depowered lamp discs were rings of ghostly gray floating in the gloom. The shimmering jewelscape of Coruscant haloed the knife-edged shadow of the chair. This was the office of the Chancellor. Within the chair's shadow sat another shadow, deeper, darker, formless and impenetrable, an abyssal umbra so profound that it drained light from the room around it, and from the city and the planet and the galaxy. The shadow waited. It had told the boy it would. It was looking forward to keeping its word, for a change. Night held the Jedi Temple. On its rooftop landing deck, thin yellow light spilled in a stretching rectangle through a shuttle's hatchway, reflecting upward onto the faces of 3 Jedi Masters. I'd feel better if Yoda were here. This master was a nautiloid, tall and broad-shouldered, his glabrous scalp tentacles restrained by loops of embossed leather. Or even Kenobi. On Old Cestus, Obi-Wan and I, Yoda is pinned down on Kashyyyk, and Kenobi is out of contact on Utapau. The Dark Lord has revealed himself, and we dare not hesitate. Think not of if, Master Fisto. This duty has fallen to us. We will suffice. This master was an Itachi, shorter and slimmer than the first. 2 long horns curved downward from his forehead to below his chin. One had been amputated after being shattered in battle a few months before. Bacta had accelerated its regrowth, and the once maimed horn was now a match to the other. We will suffice, he repeated. We will have to. Peace, said the third master, a Zabrak. Dew had gathered on his array of blunt vestigial skull spines, glistening very much like sweat. He gestured toward a temple door that had cycled open. Windu is coming. Clouds had swept in with the twilight, and now a thin drizzling rain began to fall. The approaching master walked with his shaved head lowered, his hands tucked within his sleeves. Master T and Gate Master Jurok will direct the temple's defense, he said as he reached the others. We are shutting down all nav beacons and signal lights. We have armed the older Padawans, and all blast doors are sealed and code-locked. His gaze swept the masters. It's time to go. And Skywalker? The Zabrak master cocked his head as though he felt a distant disturbance in the Force. What of the Chosen One? I have sent him to the council chamber until our return. Mace Windu turned a grim stare upon the High Council tower, squinting against the thickening rain. His hands withdrew from his sleeves. One of them held his lightsaber. He has done his duty, masters. Now we shall do ours. He walked between them into the shuttle. The other three masters shared a significant silence. Then Ajan Kolar nodded to himself and entered. Saisi Tin stroked his regrown horn and followed. I'd still feel better if Yoda were here, Kit Fisto muttered, and then went in as well. Once the hatch had been sealed behind them, the Jedi Temple belonged entirely to the Night. Alone in the chamber of the Jedi Council, Anakin Skywalker wrestled with his dragon. He was losing. He paced the chamber in blind arcs, stumbling among the chairs. He could not feel the currents of the Force around him. He could not feel the echoes of Jedi Masters in these ancient seats. He had never dreamed there was this much pain in the universe. Physical pain he could have handled, even without his Jedi mental skills. He'd always been tough. At 4 years old, he'd been able to take the worst beating Watto would deliver without so much as making a sound. Nothing had prepared him for this. He wanted to rip open his chest with his bare hands and claw out his heart. What have I done? The question started as a low moan, but grew into a howl he could no longer lock behind his teeth. What have I done? He knew the answer. He had done his duty, and now he couldn't imagine why. When I die, Palpatine had said, so calmly, so warmly, so reasonably, my knowledge dies with me. Everywhere he looked, he saw only the face of the woman he loved beyond love, the woman for whom he had channeled through his body all the love that had ever existed in the galaxy, in the universe. He didn't care what she had done. He didn't care about conspiracies or cabals or secret pacts. Treason meant nothing to him now. She was everything that had ever been loved by anyone, and he was watching her die. His agony somehow became an invisible hand stretching out through the Force, a hand that found her, far away, alone in her apartment in the dark. A hand that felt the silken softness of her skin and the sleek coils of her hair. A hand that dissolved into a field of pure energy, of pure feeling that reached inside her. And now he felt her, really felt her in the Force, as though she could have been some kind of Jedi too. But more than that, he felt a bond, a connection, deeper and more intimate than he'd ever had before with anyone, even Obi-Wan. For a precious eternal instant, he was her. He was the beat of her heart, and he was the motion of her lips, and he was her soft words as though she spoke a prayer to the stars. I love you, Anakin. I am yours in life and in death. Wherever you go, whatever you do, we will always be one. Never doubt me, my love. I am yours. And her purity and her passion and the truth of her love flowed into him and through him, and every atom of his body screamed to the Force, how can I let her die? The Force had no answer for him. The dragon, on the other hand, did. All things die, Anakin Skywalker. Even stars burn out. and no matter how hard he tried to summon it, no wisdom of Yoda's, no teaching of Obi-Wan's, not one scrap of Jedi lore came to him that could choke the dragon down. But there was an answer. He'd heard it just the night before. With such knowledge, to maintain life in someone already living would seem a small matter. Don't you agree? Anakin stopped. His agony evaporated. Palpatine was right. It was simple. All he had to do was decide what he wanted. The Coruscant nightfall was spreading through the galaxy. The darkness in the Force was no hindrance to the shadow in the Chancellor's office. It was darkness. Wherever darkness dwelled, the shadow could send perception. In the night, the shadow felt the boy's anguish, and it was good. The shadow felt the grim determination of 4 Jedi Masters approaching by air. This too was good. As the Jedi shuttle settled to the landing deck outside, the shadow sent its mind into a far deeper night within one of the several pieces of sculpture that graced the office. An abstract twist of solid neuranium, so heavy that the office floor had been specially reinforced to bear its weight, so dense that more sensitive species might, from very close range, actually perceive the tiny warping of the fabric of space-time that was its gravitation. Neuranium more than roughly a millimeter thick is impervious to sensors. The standard security scans undergone by all equipment and furniture to enter the Senate office building had shown nothing at all. If anyone had thought to use an advanced gravimetric detector, however, they might have discovered that one smallish section of the sculpture masked slightly less than it should have, given that the manifest that had accompanied it, when it was brought from Naboo among the then ambassador's personal effects, clearly stated that it was a single piece of solid forged neuranium. The manifest was a lie. The sculpture was not entirely solid, and not all of it was neuranium. Within a long, slim, rod-shaped cavity around which the sculpture had been forged, rested a device that had lain, waiting, in absolute darkness, darkness beyond darkness, for decades, waiting for night to fall on the Republic. The shadow felt the Jedi Masters stride the vast echoic emptiness of the vaulted halls outside. It could practically hear the caccade of their boot heels on the Alderaanian marble. The darkness within the sculpture whispered of the shape and the feel and every intimate resonance of the device it cradled. With a twist of its will, the shadow triggered the device. The neuranium got warm. A small, round spot, smaller than the circle a human child might make of thumb and forefinger, turned the color of old blood, then fresh blood, then open flame. Finally, a spear of scarlet energy lanced free, painting the office with the color of stars seen through the smoke of burning planets. The spear of energy lengthened, drawing with it out from the darkness the device. Then the scarlet blade shrank away, and the device slid itself within the softer darkness of a sleeve. As shouts of the Force scattered red robes beyond the office's outer doors, the shadow gestured, and the lamp discs ignited. Another shout of the Force burst open the inner door to the private office. As the Jedi stormed in, a final flick of the Shadow's will triggered a recording device concealed within the desk. Audio only. "Why, Master Windu," said the shadow. "What a pleasant surprise!"